Hello again. In the last lesson, we learned that when it comes to choice, there are people who are maximizers. They search for the best options. And there are people who are satisficers. They are satisfied with what they find. So more choice makes us less happy. In this lesson, we are going to see how this works, how more choice makes us less happy. To do this, we will read section 2. Let's zoom in on the title of section 2. The heading of this section is Recipe for Unhappiness. Let's see. Unhappiness is clear, not happy. What does recipe mean here? It means מתכון. So the section heading means probably something like מתכון לחוסר שמחה. Interesting. We can expect the writer will explain maybe how we get to be unhappy. Now let's see what makes us unhappy according to the writer. Let's start by reading the first 2 sentences of section 2. Several factors explain why more choice is not always better than less, especially for maximizers. High among these are opportunity costs. So the writer explains that there are several factors, גורמים, and among these factors we have opportunity costs. This is a new expression, ביטוי. It's important to understand what it means. It's a noun phrase. In a noun phrase, the most important word is the last one. So let's start with the last word. Costs means עלויות. And the first word, opportunity, means הזדמנות. So the translation of opportunity cost is עלויות של הזדמנות. Now we need to understand what the writer means when he uses this expression in this specific text. Writers generally explain a new term or expression in the text by giving a definition. So, our first question is, what is the writer's definition of opportunity costs? Keep on reading until you can find the definition. Press pause and come back when you're ready. Here you are. Let's see this definition. Usually, the definition of a word or expression is right before or right after the term. Here, as some of you might have seen, and others maybe not, the sentence right after doesn't explain what opportunity costs means. So let's go on to the next sentence. If we read the sentence, we see the words costs and opportunities. This is a good sign. But it isn't a simple sentence, so let's break it up. Let's see. One of the costs of making a selection, this is the subject of the sentence. אחד מהעלויות של בחירה is, he, this is the verb, losing the opportunities that a different option would have afforded. לאבד את ההזדמנויות שאפשרות אחרת הייתה יכולה לתת לנו. כלומר, כשאנחנו בוחרים באפשרות אחת, אנחנו מאבדים אפשרויות אחרות עם כל היתרונות שלהן. So, the answer is, one of the costs of making a selection is losing the opportunity that a different option would have afforded. Now we know the writer's definition of opportunity costs, what the writer means when he uses this expression. Now remember, in academic texts, writers often use examples to illustrate or to explain expressions. So let's see if you can find an example of opportunity costs. And our next question is, what example of opportunity costs does the writer give in paragraph 10? Read until you find an example. Remember, an example is something specific. It refers to specific people or things. Now press pause and come back when you have the answer. You're back. Let's find our example. In the very next sentence, we can read, thus, לכן, לפיכך, an opportunity cost of vacationing on the beach in Cape Cod might be missing the fabulous restaurants in the Napa Valley. Cape Cod, a place on the east coast of the USA. Napa Valley, an area in California. These are two specific places. Specific is what we are looking for in an example. So, if you choose Cape Cod, which is famous for its beach, you can't choose Napa Valley, which is famous for its wine and good restaurants. So it looks like we found an example of opportunity costs, and our answer is an opportunity cost of vacationing on the beach in Cape Cod might be missing the fabulous restaurants in the Napa Valley. So, until now we can say that we have an expression opportunity costs, we have the writer's definition of opportunity costs, and we found an example of opportunity costs. Now remember that in academic texts, writers often present studies to support their ideas. Our writer does the same. Let's see. Let's zoom in on the next paragraph, paragraph 11. And here we have a study. The study of Lyle Brenner of the University of Florida and his colleagues. Now, what did he and his colleagues do? They demonstrated the effect of opportunity costs. Well, how did they do that? They had subjects put a dollar value, הנחקרים היו אמורים לתת ערך כספי, on subscriptions to magazines or flights from San Francisco to attractive locations. כלומר, הנבדקים נתנו ערך כספי למחירים של דברים שונים, כמו מנוי למגזין או טיסות לסן פרנסיסקו. Brenner and his colleagues also divided the subjects into two groups, and they saw that the two groups reacted differently. I wonder what they found. So, our next question is about the findings. And you need to infer a bit here, להסיק. Based on Brenner's findings, infer in what situation will people appreciate a magazine less. A, when the magazine is by itself, or B, when the magazine is together with other magazines. Read paragraph 11, press pause, and come back when you're ready. You're back. Let's see. In the last sentence of paragraph 11, we can read, prices were consistently lower when a given alternative was evaluated as part of a group than when it was evaluated in isolation, לבד, בבידוד. Prices were lower as part of a group. So, here we have our answer. The answer is that people appreciate the magazine less, B, when the magazine is together with other magazines. So how does this happen? The writer will explain this, and this is what we need to find. Question: what is the writer's explanation for these findings? Read paragraph 12, press pause, and come back when you're ready. You're back. Let's see. So, the paragraph begins with, why might this be so? It looks like an explanation will follow. So let's continue. When you assign a value to, say, Newsweek, כשנותנים ערך או מחיר מסוים לעיתון כלשהו, למשל Newsweek, as part of a group that also contains People, The New Republic, and US, these are names of magazines. כלומר, כשנותנים ערך מחיר למגזין, כשהוא בקבוצה עם מגזינים אחרים, Your tendency will be to compare the various magazines. הנטייה תהיה להשוות בין המגזינים. Each comparison that Newsweek wins will be a gain. בכל השוואה שבה המגזין Newsweek מנצח מול המתחרים, המגזין כאילו יצבור לזכותו רווח. But each comparison that it loses will be a loss, an opportunity cost. אבל בכל השוואה שבה המגזין מפסיד, הוא יזקוף לחובתו הפסד. זאת תהיה איזושהי הזדמנות שהוחמצה. Let's go to the last sentence. The last sentence says this: Losses make us hurt more than gains make us feel good. ההפסדים גורמים לנו צער יותר משהרווחים גורמים לנו אושר. מעניין. אז אנחנו זוכרים יותר את ההפסד. So let's round up now. How can we answer the question, what is the writer's explanation for Lyle Brenner's findings? We could say the answer is, when something is in a group, we compare it to others. Each comparison brings with it gains and losses. Since the losses hurt us more, we are left with a sense of loss. כלומר, בכל השוואה, בעצם אנחנו מפסידים ומנצחים. אבל מכיוון שאנחנו זוכרים את ההפסדים הרבה יותר, אז אנחנו נשארים עם תחושה של החמצה. So, we're back to the idea that more alternatives, more choice, make us feel less happy. And this is what the writer has been trying to tell us all along. We're ending our lesson. What did we learn? We learned how opportunity costs work and how that can help explain why we feel less happy with our choice when we have more options. How did we learn this? By reading section 2, understanding the expression opportunity costs, its definition, an example, and a study. In the next lesson, we will investigate one more term and see how this can add to our understanding. So see you there.